bear me with that. Since then, the procurement law has been revised. The CEO of an organization, his role was, or his or her role was, to appoint the procurement committee. If the procurement committee made a decision, the CEO could not vary that decision. Since then, and I had already left the central bank, things have changed and the law has been revised. Let me also say, the issue of banks propping the sharing, that was not correct. It is like the same situation we are in now. We are having surprise side shocks, and because of the persistent shocks, you can see the dollar supply has been minimal. And so in a sense, when you look at our current account deficit, it is the one that signals whether the currency is going to depreciate or appreciate. And that is the same situation with external shocks, and this is consistent with the African economies. Again, we went through the motion with a special parliamentary committee on that, and we dissolved the matter that actually this was the preference. That is why, Mr. Chairman, I mentioned that I had issues with saying, how do we create buffers that help us to mitigate short-term shocks? And the whole issue, then the whole issue of Imperial Bank and my wife going to Thailand, this is a paid service. It was an agent of that company that was giving those the services, and it was paid.
Did you hear what he asked?
Yes.
He said, or rather he alleged, that in certain proceedings, the former owner of Imperial Bank alleged that he paid for an expensive holiday for your family. When you learned of it, you cut short the holiday, came back, and collapsed the bank. That's what he alleged.
Yes,
and that's what you should respond to.
Thank you, Chairman. The bank collapsed in 2017, and I was not governor then, and I was even away from the country. I was working from outside the country. So it did not collapse in when I was governor. Thank you, Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, just for your indulgence, Chair. You see, two issues, Chair. The issue of the shilling that I raised, it is true that the scenario looks like now. But, Chair, just as a supplementary question, the shilling now is stuck at that level. By that time, a committee of parliament was formed, and I suspect you were in parliament by then. Then, after the investigation of parliament ended in a month or a month and a half, the shilling came back from 120, came back to 90. So it looked like a setup. Then lastly, Chair, did the trip to Thailand happen or did it not happen, in spite of the bank collapsing in 2017?
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Let me say this. Once the crisis has been resolved, then there is inflow of foreign exchange. And because we have an open capital account and a floating exchange rate, the appreciation will always take place, because the depreciation is coming because of scarcity. And that's what happened. You can even produce graphs to that effect. That is, I wanted to correct that. The trip to Thailand took place in 2014. And then the agent of that was himself, I can't remember the name of the one you have mentioned. And we were paying him in advance to go. So it was a trip that was paid for. You pay him. So it took place, we paid. He was an agent. He was an agent of that particular resort. And you paid him directly. And then and all those details are there.
Pay for the holiday?
I paid for that holiday for my wife.
Okay.
Yes.
We now have another batch of 4. Owen Bayer, Gikaria, Mule, Emase.
Yes, can I go ahead, Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much.
To make good progress, Professor, listen to the questions very carefully and answer them as precisely and concisely as you can.
Okay.
When you embark on a misadventure, you land into